unmuted.
We are now live. This meeting of the City of Socorro's Planning and Zoning Commission is set to begin. Due to the ongoing threat to public health, the City of Socorro, Texas Council and Commissions will be broadcasting a virtual meeting, broadcasted by phone and live streaming services from council chambers located at 860.
Sí, es que se me está cortando el sonido, no está porque está allá por acá.
Está bien, bien. Ahí,
No digo, pero estoy conectado al internet.
oh, ya, ok. Él me sacar la Nissan.
My apologies. To practice social distancing and limit the number of people physically present at one time, there will be no physical access to the location mentioned above. We do ask everyone to silence their electronics to avoid any sound interruptions. No disruptive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to call disconnection and possible prosecution. Anyone who has signed up to speak or present will be called upon by the presiding officer to speak during public comment or on their specific agenda item, in accordance with Government Code 551.042. La reunión de la Comisión de Planificación y Zonificación de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Por el problema de salud pública en curso, el Concilio y las comisiones de la Ciudad de Socorro, Texas, transmitirá su reunión por teléfono y servicios de transmisión en vivo desde la sala del Concilio, localizada en 860 North Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, 79927, para practicar el distanciamiento social y limitar el número de personas físicamente presentes. No habrá acceso físico a la ubicación mencionada anteriormente. Les pedimos a todos que silencien su equipo electrónico para evitar interrupciones de sonido. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. Quien no siga estas reglas, su llamada será desconectada y puede ser infraccionado. A quien se haya apuntado para hablar o presentar será anunciado por el oficial conduciendo la reunión para hablar durante el comentario público o sobre su tema específico de la agenda, de acuerdo con el Código del Gobierno 551.042.
This is the Socorro Planning and Zoning Commission, July 6, 2021. It's 5:35 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Item number 2, establishment of quorum. Andrew Arroyos,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros,
Present.
Ernest Gomez, David Estrada,
Here.
Arturo Lafuente,
Here.
Julie Dominguez,
Here.
Miriam Cruz.
Oiga, ¿me puedo tardar aquí?
I don't know if you said my name, but I'm hearing other noises.
Yes, ma'am, I said Miriam Cruz.
Here, present.
Thank you. We have quorum with 6 commissioners present. Item number 3, notice to the public. Diana, do we have anybody that would like to speak?
No, ma'am.
Item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to remove the approval of the meeting minutes from the consent agenda.
Do I
So that we can consent from for A through Z.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Do we have a second?
I'm not understanding the request or the motion.
Okay, I withdraw my motion. I'll make another motion to amend the consent agenda and amend the minutes to include on the last item 9, page 2 of the minutes, for it to read, excuse absent commission members. A motion was made by Andrew Arroyo, seconded by Ernest Gomez to excuse. Motion carried. I voted in the negative, and I would like that noted in the minutes. That's all I was trying to do.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion made by Miriam Cruz to approve and second by David Estrada, and I'd like to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos,
Yes.
Enrique Cisneros,
Abstain.
Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente, Mr. Lafuente,
Mr. Lafuente, you are muted.
Okay, yes, yes.
thank you. Julie Dominguez
Yes.
and Miriam Cruz.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Lot 15, Socorro Mission Number 1, Block 11, located at 551 Cebu Road, from R1, single-family residential, to R2, medium-density residential.
We open public hearing at 5:38.
We do have several public speakers for this item. Salvador Arredondo,
Here.
would you like to say something to the commission, sir?
I'm going to do it in Spanish, okay?
It's
Lo voy a decir
fine.
en español.
Go ahead.
Yo vivo, soy el dueño de la 541 Cebu.
Señor, ¿puede
Estoy
subir un
con-
poquito su volumen? No lo podemos oír claramente.
Yo vivo, soy el dueño de la 541 Cebu. Estoy en contra de lo que van a hacer en el 551 por la razón de que en el 531 ya hicieron una unidad igual, de R1 a R2. Entonces me van a dejar a mí en medio. La razón que estoy en contra es tanto por los servicios, los taxes que me van a subir, por la propiedad, y la razón que no es lo mismo tener un vecino al lado que tener 4 vecinos al lado. Ahora voy a tener 8 vecinos. Cuando yo compré esa propiedad en 1988, venía registrado que toda esa área era residencial para una familia. Ahora están haciendo esa calle Cebú como si fuera comercial. En la 511 hicieron un negocio de un daycare center que están agarrando provecho de allí. Las casas de nosotros que estamos allí no es para hacer un negocio. La 531 se hizo negocio. Ahora van con la 551 a hacer negocio. Yo estoy en contra de que me pongan 8 vecinos que no sé ni de cómo son. La parte 531 tenemos problemas con la policía porque los inquilinos de ese lado son muy borloteros y tenemos mucho problema por eso, y no quiero yo más problemas allí. El día que yo quiera vender mi propiedad, no voy a poder porque nadie la va a querer que viva en medio de dos apartamentos, de 8 apartamentos, perdón. Eso es mi comentario y no acepto que cambie a R2.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Second person is Patricia Olivas.
Hello. I live catty corner to that lot, but across 531 Cebu. And it's the same thing. We have a lot of problems. We have a container outside our property that we pay for. And yet, all the people from 531 Cebu throw their trash on our property. So she's not taking care of them as far as providing all their needs. And so they're coming with us. So I was going to go put the boxes back to the property, but my husband's like, no, no, just, when we got the public hearing, let them know that, and then they're up and down the motorcycle, so I'm not in agreement with all the disruption that they are causing here. And also, I mean, our property values are gonna go down, we put in another set of apartments, and I don't want that. Same thing, if we ever decide to sell, nobody's gonna wanna buy here, living across those apartments. So, I'm opposed to it too.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Robert Martinez.
Yes, I agree with both of the people that are talking right now. I live right across the street where they want to put the apartments. And I agree with what they've said, and then also, the motorcycles, that someone that used to live there had motorcycles, some young people, and they would go up and down the street late in the evening, making a lot of noise. And there's different problems there. I don't care to have, I oppose it. I don't want any apartments in front of my property. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Araceli Morales.
Yes?
Yes, Ms. Morales.
Yes, I'm all agree with all my neighbors that they were saying that there's a problem with them, because we've been living here more than, almost 30 years, 31, and we never had problems since these people came, and the cops are always there, they're causing trouble, and we don't want any more trouble, because our land is next to the property they want to put the apartments, and there's been a lot of robberies ever since these people came, and we never had those kind of problems, and the cops are always there, and we were always a good neighborhood. So since these people came, there's some disturbance. So we're all against that.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Juan Silvas.
Yes, I agree with that, with everybody, what they're saying. I live right on the back of the apartment, of those apartments they want to make. And, well, I disagree on that too.
Mr. Arroyos, those are all our speakers.
So we close public hearing at 5:45.
Item number 6, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Lot 15, Socorro Mission Number 1, Block 11, located at 551 Cebu Road, from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Medium Density Residential.
Good evening, Chair Andrew Arroyos and Commissioners. This is item number 6, 5051 Cebu Road, rezoning. We're gonna give you the background. Hold on. So the land is about half an acre, 22,651 square feet. The property is currently vacant. R1 allows a single-family home. The R2 would allow a multifamily residential. Applicant would like to build a duplex. The recommendation is the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval with a condition limiting the density of the duplex unit. This is the location map. Then we have our zoning map. As you can see, where you see the star, that is the location of where the rezoning will take place. To your right hand, you have three other locations that are R2s. These were rezoned probably in 2016, August 20th, 2016. These are current pictures that we took this week on the parcels of their conditions of what they look like right now. We have the aerial map. And that's what we have. Do you all have any questions?
Ms. Parate, is the applicant online?
Yes, he is. It's Mr. Gurola. Señor Gurola? Mr. Gurola?
Hello?
Yes.
I am here, ma'am.
The commissioners have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, ma'am, and I would like to make some comments also in reference to the neighbors from around there also, when there's a chance.
Go ahead, sir. Good afternoon, sir. You said you had some comments for us?
Yes, a couple of them, based on the neighbors' concerns.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. First of all, in reference to the gentleman or the ladies who were mentioned that before, one of them that the owners there used to have a motorcycle and so on and so forth. I am not sure. And the other lady on the other side that said that they would go in there and have parties or whatever and throw their trash back and so on and so forth. I understand it very well. I live on Vineyard, actually. And I know a lot of people in that area. I used to teach for the Socorro district. And the thing is this, that the owners of that, I'm not the original owner of that property, okay? I purchased that property. And I purchased that property for my two daughters. And both of them are physicians, okay? They graduated from college and they moved back they went to Socorro Middle School. And so they came back here, they have children, and so I figured that I was going to buy them a piece of property after their schooling, they're paying their debts and so on. And so I bought them, I was going to buy a property and build them a home, both together, or a small duplex, or two small subdivisions, but not the idea of where they got the idea that it was going to be an apartment complex. I have no idea where they got that. But anyway, and whatever problems they had in terms of trash and motorcycle guys and drinking and all of that, that must have been from the previous owner, because I purchased those a couple of years ago. So now I'm a recent owner of that, okay? I was in the process of cleaning that one because I was checking surveys and trying to fix that property and another one that I had purchased for my son also in another area. So I understand their concerns in terms of the trash and the litter, but that was not me. That was the previous owner. Second, I am familiar with that area. Like I say, I was a teacher for the Socorro district. I was a teacher in 5 districts, and I was a coach at the high school also. So I know some of the individual students and people probably from that area. And it's not going to be an apartment complex. And the idea was that I was going to build a home for my 2 daughters, but I figured that if I did it in the form of a duplex or 2 small separated cottages, and they're going to be built correctly, and this is not going to be a slum. And, you know, I thought that it would be appropriate for my daughters until something that I was going to leave them, you know, because they, like I say, they have kids and they divorced and they went to that area, Socorro Middle School. So I understand their concerns, but I also understand that probably some of the feelings that they had was probably from the previous owner. And I also saw the 4 apartments that were on the right side, and they were very dense. And mine is not going to be like that. And like I say, never. So where they got the idea that it was going to be an apartment or an apartment complex or whatever, I have no idea. I did send my brother. I sent my brother because I was in California. You know, my daughter graduation and so on. So I had sent my brother to get information on those properties. And I asked him, find out what I can build, you know, how many structures I can build there. And where they got the idea, unless they asked him, and unless he made the comment, because I told him there are some there, properties that have 2 dwellings and another one that has more dwellings, but that was not my intention on that. So anyway, that was something that I think I wanted to explain to those individuals, because I understand the concerns. I myself live on Vineyard, and so I know exactly, but the individuals that are going to live there are totally different than probably the problems that they've had before in the other properties or so on. Anyway, that was my comment.
And you said that you were interested just in a duplex, not in a quadplex, right?
Say it again, sir?
And your idea was just for a duplex, not a quad?
No, sir. What I wanted to build, see, is I have two daughters, and they both graduated, but they graduated, went to school, got their doctoral degrees. One is a professor at community college, and the other one works for the fashion industry. And they got divorced, had some very bad. Two of them they had big problems. So anyway,
Mr.
they
Rios,
graduated. I put them
I'm
to
sorry
college.
to interrupt, but I think
They were going to
getting
move back
outside of
here
the
because
scope of our,
they're from this area.
agenda item.
They-
I don't mean to interrupt.
Well, it's just a simple question whether he would have thought of building a duplex, not a quad. It's just
No, I didn't mean your question. I meant his answer.
No, what I wanted to
don't think
do
he's
is,
answered
it
the-
was
I
originally
think he
a
already answered the
duplex, but
question.
since they're my two daughters, in order to give them privacy, and I figured that I would separate it into two small, like two small cottages or two small little houses, instead of one big duplex or duplex. That was my intention, one or the other.
I do have a question for the zoning and planning department. Is the zoning and planning department recommending approval or denial of this change?
Mr. Cisneros, it is approval based on other locations where the R2s were permitted.
And when did it go from denial to approved? Because on the minutes or on the packet that I saw, it was different.
Correct, so the backup, Mr. Terrazas had prepared it. Mr. Terrazas is no longer with the Planning and Zoning Department. And based on our ordinance, sir, there's nothing not allowing this person to technically not go to an R2. So we can't deny based on the ordinances that we have in place right now. We are asking that the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval with a condition that it's only a duplex or minimum of 2 dwellings.
I have a question. Ms. Rodarte, does it not go against the master plan? Couldn't we say that this is spot zoning, even if there are a few others? The majority is R1, is that correct, in all of the surrounding area?
Correct, but because it would only give authority for 2 dwellings, and because there's other facilities there that have more than 2 dwellings, it would not, it's still the character of the subdivision. It still meets that criteria.
And what about the master plan?
Correct, you're
I guess
amending, so you would be amending the master plan. Any rezoning would be an amendment to the master plan.
Correct, so then it does go against the master plan, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I would like to make a motion for denial.
A second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
David.
Thank you.
Estrada.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to deny, second by David Estrada. And I would like to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos,
next to abstain, please.
Enrique Cisneros,
Could you say it again?
Mr. Cisneros, I'm taking a vote for the denial.
She's taking a vote for the motion that you made, sir?
Correct, I vote for denial,
Okay, thank you.
so in the positive,
Okay.
The affirmative.
Ernest, thank
to
you.
deny.
Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Julie Dominguez,
Yes.
and Miriam Cruz.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, public hearing request for the proposed conditional use permit for a tire shop on Lot 8, Pool Subdivision, Block 2, located at 10881 Alameda Avenue.
You have public hearing on this, correct?
Yes,
Yes, correct.
Open public hearing at 5:57. Nobody signed up for this?
No, Mr. Arroyos.
Okay. We close public hearing at 5:57.
item number 8, consider and take action on the proposed conditional use permit for a tire shop on Lot 8, Pool Subdivision, Block 2, located at 10881 Alameda Avenue.
Good evening, Commissioners. We are talking about a conditional use permit at 10881 Alameda. The background is this is half an acre, 21,780 square feet. Land is vacant. The proposed use is for a tire shop. A conditional use permit is necessary to establish a tire shop, and the land is zoned as C2. Planning and Zoning Department is recommending approval. We have the location map. We have our zoning map. So all of these are zoned as C2, where the star, that's the property that's in question. We have pictures of this week that were taken of the property of how it looks right now. These are site plans that the applicant has submitted for the tire shop that they're interested in building. And here is the aerial map. Do you all have any questions?
Go ahead, Ms. Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Ms. Rodarte, on the map online, and like you showed it there too, it's already zoned as C2, and they're requesting for it to be C2, or?
No, they're requesting a conditional use permit that is required for a tire shop.
Oh, okay, within a C2.
Correct.
Okay.
So it is allowed under the C2 with a conditional use permit. And that's what they're here for, requesting is their conditional use permit.
Would that permit allow them to do anything else other than the tire shop, or is that a specific conditional use permit for a tire shop?
So you can put a condition on it, but the conditional use permit that are required are for different types of businesses within the C2, such as an adult business, shopping centers. However, right now in the ordinance, we can make a stipulation that it is, the conditional use permit would only be allowed for a tire shop.
Thank you.
If nobody has any other questions, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
I second it.
I'm sorry, were you gonna add the conditional use language, that it only be for a tire shop?
I am not. But if you'd like to make the motion, I'll retract my motion and you can make it with that condition.
Okay, thank you.
And the reason is I'm a big proponent of anything on these major thoroughfares and major thoroughfares and arteries, anything that we can approve or support local business owners, I'm all in favor for.
I second.
Well, he retracted his motion.
I'll retract my motion. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditional use permit that it only be used for a tire shop as proposed.
I second.
I have a motion made by Miriam Cruz to approve with conditions, second by Andrew Arroyos. And I would like to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos?
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros?
Yes, ma'am.
Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada?
No.
Arturo Lafuente?
Yes.
Julie Dominguez?
Yes.
And Miriam Cruz.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 9, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tract 13A1E, Socorro Grant, Block 8, from C2 General Commercial to R2 Medium Density Residential.
We open, public hearing at 6:02.
We don't have any speakers, Mr. Arroyos.
We close public hearing at 6:02.
Item number 10, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tract 13A1E Socorro Grant from Block 8 from C2 General Commercial to R2 Medium Density Residential.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is item number 10, and this is in the corner of North Loop and Valle Plata. The applicant is requesting to rezone from a C2 to an R2. This is 7.07 acres. Land is currently vacant. They're proposing a use is for multifamily. Land is zoned as C2. The C2 does not allow multifamily. Planning and zoning does recommend approval. Here is a location map. We have the zoning map. We have pictures of the current property that were taken this week. And here is the aerial map. Do you all have any questions?
Is the applicant on the line, Mr.
Let me see.
We have the
Yes.
representative.
Marcos?
Mr. Conde said he was going to speak as representative.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Conde from the...
Okay, Mr. Conde?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Good evening. This is Conrad Conde with Conde Incorporated. I'm here to entertain any questions you all may have.
Mr. Arroyos, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Rodarte, I have a question. Most of the area along North Loop, at least, you know, in that section and in other sections, is commercial. I guess I'm just wondering why you're recommending, why the departments are recommending approval for it to go to residential. If it's along North Loop, that's a major street.
And that's because of the character of the subdivision right abutting it. It is residential.
And that's the only reason?
Correct,
I
ma'am.
guess,
So
has
it's-
that land, because I know that there's like a car wash down the street that just opened up, and I guess slowly but surely there was commercial stuff, growing.
Correct. So the property owners that own all, most of that frontage, right? They're the developers, and they're the ones that are coming to us to develop an apartment complex. But in order for them to do that, they would need to rezone in order to provide us a preliminary plat in order to bring to the Planning and Zoning Department.
May we also add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And so you'll know, most places when we do apartments, usually they're tied in with commercial zoning districts. Most other areas allow multifamily within their commercial districts. The reason why is because what you try to achieve is mixed use, where you have a mix of residential, which is multifamily, and commercial next to each other. And that's why we're trying to design this where you already have the single family in the back, then you have a mix of commercial and multifamily that'll be facing North Loop, which we think is an ideal scenario in terms of a planning perspective. Hopefully you all agree with that.
I guess the question that I have would be my concern for traffic. North Loop hasn't even, not COVID still keeping some people home and school right now, it's summer. I'm already imagining August to be pretty hectic, even though it already is pretty, it's a full street, heavy-ish traffic now. And so my concern would be for traffic. I wonder what your thoughts are for that.
Correct. So once they submit the preliminary plat, we will ask for a traffic impact analysis.
Yes, I understand, but I guess I'm also wondering, is there going to be any openings? But it doesn't look like it, right? There's not going to be any openings to the residential area. The residents probably wouldn't want that anyway. And so I guess I was just trying to get the thoughts from the representative, Ms. Rodarte.
Okay, I apologize.
Yes, ma'am. And so, a couple things. We're down zoning, and so in terms of traffic, we're actually reducing what you can actually receive from a higher end retail. So we're actually reducing the amount of traffic that could be on there with what's currently Zone C2, which is more your neighborhood and regional commercial, which is a higher intensity in terms of traffic users. And so this actually helps exactly what you're asking about and discussing. This actually helps that.
Thank you for your comments.
I'd like to ask planning and zoning staff, that gray area that's on the map, is that being given up to the city? Is that being donated to the city?
Which gray area, sir?
On the map, on the other color-coded map that was just on the screen a little bit ago, that's part of the backup?
This?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That gray area, is that still part of North Loop, or is that land that the city is getting from the developer?
You mean this gray area here?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. So I think that's considered for the decel lanes.
So there'll be a dedicated deceleration lane so that people can turn in and out of onto the apartment complex, correct?
Correct. Right now, I wouldn't be able to give you specific information because we're not looking at the preliminary plat. The traffic impact analysis would provide us more information of what exactly is needed in order to control the traffic that will be produced with this new development.
Very good. Taking advantage of the developers on the line, I'd like to pose him the same question.
We've already set aside, so this was already part of the master plan of all those units that you see to the south of it. So like you even see the blue, that's a pond. That pond was designed not only to take residential, but part of North Loop and this commercial. So this area has already been part of a master plan community that was done over 10 years ago. Obviously, what takes longer to develop is the commercial piece. So this is the very last part of this master planned area where a traffic impact study was done, again, over 10 years ago. And so everything's already designed for this. Hopefully that helps.
So let me rephrase my question. Will there be a dedicated deceleration and acceleration lane so that people can jump off and onto North Loop in this development?
That will be solely at the discretion of the Texas Department of Transportation. If it's needed, absolutely, we will do whatever is needed from them. But at the end of the day, it's going to be dictated by them since they're the ones that maintain North Loop.
Very good. If nobody, and not that this is a motion, but just to put it out there to the other commissioners, I'm going to support this as long as they, with the caveat that they add an acceleration and deceleration lane so that people can go in and out of the apartment complex.
I have a question. I have a question for the engineer. How many, do you know at this point, how many total units would you be proposing?
It has to meet your R2 density code. We can't go past that, which I can't remember if it was 10 or 12 units to the acre. So you're going to be under 200 units, easily under 200 units. And just so you'll note, that the staff report says 7 acres, but the entire commercial site 7 acres, but we're only rezoning 4 acres, leaving the other 3 acres for commercial retail.
I can't hear him. I don't know if anybody else is having an issue hearing him.
Yeah, the audio isn't very good.
Mr. Conde,
can
we
y'all
can
still
have you
hear me or
speak
no?
into.
Hello?
Mr. Conde,
Yes.
can you, now we can hear you. We couldn't hear you before.
Can you repeat the question again?
So I'm curious to know how many units you would be proposing. And so you were saying that you're looking to rezone the entire 7 acres, but you would only be building on 4 acres. Is that correct?
No, we're only rezoning 4 acres out of the total of 7 that you
I
see
see.
there. For the purposes of multifamily only. The other 3 acres will remain C2 for neighborhood commercial. And so because of that, your density is going to be below 200 units because it has to meet your all density requirements.
So if it would be below 200 units, but how many do you think? Would it be 100, 50, 190?
160.
Do you know that at this point?
Based on the,
From what I understand right now, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Conde.
It's between 160 to 180 units.
160 to 180.
Again, that's just an estimate, and again, we have to meet your max. We can't go past that. And so at the end of the day, it's going to be based on market and which one's going to be 2-bedroom versus 1-bedroom, which obviously dictates how many units you're going to be able to get.
So I'd like to make a comment.
Mr. Arroyo?
So if the number is around, 160, 180, we're talking about at least 400 cars added to that very small area. And I say 400 because it's probably going to be at least 2 people per unit, minimum, usually, right? Couples and mom and kid or something. Everyone has a car nowadays. And so my concern is still about the traffic because even as the representative mentioned, it should be less traffic if it were from what it was, if it were commercial. If it was commercial, there's limited store hours. The traffic isn't going to be coming and going like in all nights and hours of the day like a residential would because you're adding 400 plus people into one area. My concern would be parking with that many units. I appreciate that you added a picture. I know that's just to give us an idea. But even from that image, I don't know if that's to scale or just for showmanship, but that doesn't even look like it would hold enough cars for those residents. And so, my concern is still traffic and the fact that this does go against the master plan. The master plan says it's set as commercial and not residential. Those are the only comments that I wanted to make. Thank you.
If I may just add again, you're talking about half the amount of traffic on apartments and multifamily than you would the current zoning that you have. Second thing is multifamily is considered commercial. It's permitted as commercial. Even though it sounds like a residential use, it's permitted as commercial. And so it has to meet the parking requirements. So you cannot provide less parking. You have to provide at least the minimum or above, which this does, to make sure that there's no issues with parking, because we concur. Parking must be taken care of. There's no on-street parking in North Loop, so it has to be taken care of within this site. Hopefully that helps.
I'd like to ask planning and zoning staff for a little bit more clarification on the R2 Socorro zoning. In the master plan, in the comprehensive master plan, the R2 is only defined as medium density residential, single family and multifamily units, which would either be 6,000 square feet with ponding, 10,000 square feet with ponding. But it doesn't really elaborate more than that. I don't know if they can give us some more information on R2 designations when it comes to apartment complexes.
Yes, Mr. Cisneros, they're actually allowed, the maximum density is 15 dwelling units per acre. 15 dwellings per acre, that's what is allowed in, that's the maximum density in the R2.
Could you say that one more time?
Yes.
I couldn't
So
hear.
the
I couldn't hear very well.
I apologize. The maximum density for an R2 is 15 dwelling units per acre. So for 7, you would have 105 units. The proposed has, I think, 112 units in the, what they had submitted as backup. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, if nobody else had any other questions, I'd like to make a motion, but I don't know if anybody else has any other questions.
Yeah, Ms. Olarte, I want to clarify, a motion, a unit would be considered, a family unit would be considered like the one apartment? I'm just trying to figure out the equivalent. Or would it be, one building where maybe there could be multiple apartments?
Correct. So dwellings is considered a building, right? So the ordinance, it says the purpose of this zone is to provide a mixture of single-family and multifamily dwellings to a maximum density of 15 dwelling units per acre in order to create a more urban appearance.
Okay. So it's just it's a building, so it could be multiple apartments per building, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could, and again, it's not a motion at this point, but in my mind, I'd like to make the following motion if anybody has any questions about this. I'd like to make a motion, and I will in a minute, this isn't the motion itself, for approval with the 2 caveats that that this change in zoning, that there's not more units that exceed the R2 apartment designation, and that there be a dedicated lane for people to decelerate off of North Loop and to accelerate safely onto North Loop.
I second it.
So it's not quite a motion yet, but does anybody have any questions on those 2 things yet?
I don't have any questions, and I kind of agree with you, Mr. Cisneros, because it's gonna have to go to TxDOT, and if TxDOT sees that there's gotta be a deceleration lane or whatnot, they'll go, they should implement it or whatnot, but I agree with Mr. Cisneros, and if you don't want to make a motion to approve, Mr. Cisneros, I would.
Well, let me go ahead and make it then. So I'd like to make a motion for approval with the 2 caveats that this development not exceed the R2 apartment designation, and then also with the second caveat that they have a dedicated lane for acceleration and deceleration off of North Loop.
I second.
I wonder if the attorney has any comments on that? It would be my question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think I've kind of mentioned in the past that, requiring anything to do with TxDOT, it's not usually an applicant's control. But yeah, I think you guys are free to make that motion as you see fit, so.
So I'd like to call the question.
Yeah,
I'd like to call for the vote.
Okay, who was the second, please?
Andrew.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve with staff recommendations, second by Andrew Arroyos. And I'm going to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros,
Yes, ma'am.
Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada,
I'm gonna say no.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Julie Dominguez,
Yes.
and Miriam Cruz.
Déjame, le pongo no.
I'm gonna say no.
Motion is carried. Item number
Thank you,
11.
Commissioners.
Public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Track 5D, Socorro Grant, Block 27, located at 11683 Socorro Road from C1 Light Commercial to R2 Medium Density Residential.
We open public hearing at 6:23. Nobody is signed up to speak. I'd like to close at 6:23 also.
Item number 12, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Tract 5D, Socorro Grant, Block 27, located at 11683 Socorro Road from C1 Light Commercial to R2 Medium Density Residential.
Good evening, Commissioners. We do have a request for rezoning from a C1 to an R2. This is a little bit over half an acre, 23,310 square feet. Land currently has a structure. Proposed use is multifamily. Property is zoned as C1. C1 does not allow multifamily uses. Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval. This is the location map. Here is the zoning map. Here are the current pictures of what currently is on the property. And here is the aerial map. Do you all have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Olarte, are they coming to the Planning and Zoning Commission after they've already built what they're hoping to build? I can't tell by the pictures if those are.
Correct. So this looks like it was supposed to be offices, but from taking pictures and looking at the site, it does look like they're using it for apartments. Like they've created 4 dwellings. That's what it looks like.
And sorry, I have a follow-up. I looked at the backup provided, and I couldn't really figure out the maps until I realized that the map, I don't know if that was the map sent out with the letters to the neighbors, but the map, that's the last 2 pages of the backup were from a totally different, it's not even in the part of Socorro, right? It's somewhere downtown or somewhere in the city of El Paso. I don't know if you see the backup.
Let me look at it. I'm doing that right now.
I guess my concern would just be if whether the neighbors got proper notice, or, you know, I would have looked at the map and said, I don't live there. They sent me the wrong, you're talking about the wrong thing.
Well, no, so I am showing that the properties where they sent these, I don't know why they showed the map, but if you see the list of addresses, in the back side of it, it gives you correct. So they used a different map. However, the addresses that were sent out are here from Socorro.
Right. I guess my concern would be that if I was one of the residents and I get the map, I would think maybe that they sent it to the wrong person, and maybe I guess I'm just wondering about if they got proper notice. That's just my
Correct.
concern.
And I guess we can ask Monica Perez, because I know Marwan has left the meeting. However, they were sent out to the correct addresses. If you see the list here in Socorro, and the letter does specify the exact location of the address that wants to be rezoned. So it does seem like it meets the, what's required is to send the notice and the particular item and property that is being asked to be rezoned.
Is the applicant present on the line?
Yes, sir.
My question for the applicant would be, I'm guessing it's currently used as rental properties?
Yes, family homes. Yes, I bought this property 15 years ago, and it was already built like that. And it's been like this ever since. A couple of months ago, I had a vacant unit, and they had problems on getting the mailbox. So I went to the post office, and they suggest for me to go from C1 to R2, which I don't know if I was getting the right or wrong information. So I go ahead and put the application for R2. So, and I would like to keep going like that if it's possible for, from C1 to R2.
Thank you. My next question would be for planning and zoning. In the event that they were declined, I mean, they're out of compliance for what it's zoned for. What would be the end result if it was not approved? Would this be shut down and have to change to commercial? What's reasonable to think would happen?
Yes, good afternoon. They would actually be asked to stop using the land the way they're using it, since they are not zoned properly. So at that point, the owner can see if he can open up a business or maybe sell the land in order for it to become a commercial, what it's zoned as.
Ms. Rodarte, if this zoning were to be approved, would the conditions have to be improved as far as parking spaces, it being asphalted, or?
Yes, sir. So there's certain things that are happening in this property, such as propane gas. They would have to connect to the actual Texas Gas Service and water utilities and improve their parking space. So they would have to go through the ordinance to bring up their property up to par to meet code.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
I'm sorry, so I haven't gotten my question answered from Ms. Perez.
I'll retract my.
If you would like to go into executive session, we can. It's up to you. As far as this particular one, it shows, the letter shows that the letter had the correct, relevant language in there, and the addresses that Ms. Rodarte showed were also, as long as they're the people that should have received notice, then that's all that's required. On the backup materials, those attachments, if they were sent, my concern would only be if, for example, certain people didn't receive the letter that should have been sent as far as a notice issue. And as far as the agenda item, it's properly posted as well.
Okay, if that's advice from council, that's great. I want to make sure people get their day if they wanted to say something, and if it's not a confusing, if it's, partial confusion about what it is or what it isn't, is we don't believe that's going to be an issue, then that's fine by me. I just wanted to clarify that for our residents, make sure that they get to speak up when they want. Obviously, sometimes they don't. Thank you, guys.
If nobody has any other questions, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve, second by Andrew Arroyos. And I'd like to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros,
Yes, ma'am.
Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes.
Julie Dominguez,
Yes.
and Miriam Cruz. Miriam Cruz,
Oh, I'm sorry, I muted myself. No.
motion is carried. Item number 13, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report.
I'd like to ask the Planning and Zoning Department if we can get a copy of I guess the details on the R2 and any more information that we can get on the different designations. The one that's on the comprehensive planning, the definitions that are on the City of Socorro, Texas Comprehensive Master Plan for 2014. It's a one-page, maybe 2 or 3 pages designation or information. Can we get some more information on that, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Cisneros, also, I don't know if you're familiar with our website. Under the planning and zoning or the city clerk, it does have all city ordinances. I will go ahead and share the link and also send you the different densities that we have throughout the city.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to report if anybody else wants to say anything.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm curious as to why Job is no longer with the Planning and Zoning Department. And then I'd also ask if and when we would be having session at the Rio Vista location. If someone can address that, I'd really appreciate it.
Correct. So I was planning on addressing that at the Planning and Zoning Department report, since that covers the Planning and Zoning Department.
Okay, thank you, that's fine.
Thank you. Do we need a motion for number 13? Or do you all just move on to item number 14?
Item number 14, Planning and Zoning Department Report.
Correct. So good evening. Mr. Terrazas was terminated about a week and a half ago to 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I can't go into detail for the reason of termination. For his own privacy, we can't discuss that information. We do have Carlos Gallinar, who has worked as the Planning and Zoning Director for the City of El Paso, that is assisting us part-time at this time. So we do ask for your patience moving forward. Remember, reporting, everybody does reporting a little bit different. So I would ask every time that we have a meeting, if there is a recommendation or a suggestion for us to do something different or something else that you would want to hear, please let us know so we can accommodate the information that we're providing you all in order to make informative decisions. We do have great tools on our website that I do want, if we can have an opportunity to have a workshop to go over these tools. They're extremely useful. And I think the more we become involved and learning this information, you guys are able to find this information at the tip of your hands. You know, just as soon as you need information, you can go in there and look for it, and it'll provide you the information that you're looking for.
Item number 15.
And I'm sorry. And then regarding the going, anyone is allowed to come into the office for hearings. I do know that some people do prefer to do them virtual. From talking to the mayor hasn't opened us to come back and make the meetings in public. But I do know that we're open to whoever wants to join us here in person, you can. Just let us know so we can set you up. And even moving forward, if we do open back in person, we will do the dual, the virtual and also in-person meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 15, excused absent commission. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
To excuse?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Second.
Who was
Mr.
that?
Cisneros.
Oh, thank you. I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to excuse, second by Enrique Cisneros, and I would like to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes, ma'am.
Julie Dominguez,
Yes.
and Miriam Cruz.
Mr. Gomez, call in that he was not going to be able to show.
He did not call in to me. I don't know if he talked to anyone in the department. No, we didn't receive a call from him today.
Okay, thank you. No.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Item number 16, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
One second.
I'm sorry, who was the first one? I'm sorry, who made the first motion?
I just so moved. So it just.
So the motion was made by Mr. Arroyo, seconded by Miriam, or made by Miriam, seconded by Mr. Arroyo?
Seconded by Mr. Cisneros, I believe.
Okay. Cisneros and Mr. Arroyo.
Okay. I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros, second by Andrew Arroyos to adjourn, and I would like to take a vote. Andrew Arroyos,
Yes, ma'am.
Enrique Cisneros,
Yes, ma'am.
Ernest Gomez is absent. David Estrada,
Yes.
Arturo Lafuente,
Yes, ma'am.
Julie Dominguez,
Yes.
and Miriam Cruz.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned at 6:40 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
I'll send you that information.